Oukitel has been trying for quite a while to unseat the Ulefone Power as one of the most popular MediaTek battery phones, and this time Oukitel is bringing the fight to the Ulefone Power 2, releasing phone almost spec for spec with the Ulefone Power 2 with a couple of minor differences. It uses the MediaTek processor, 4GB RAM, 64GB of ROM, and of course a massive 6000 mAh battery as well. Can the new Oukitel K6000 Plus successfully beat down the Ulefone Power 2? Let's find out. The build quality here is great, the body is metal and it feels good in the hand. The phone is large, definitely not compact for a 5.5-inch device, nearly 1cm thick and 76mm wide. There are 3 capacitive buttons on the bottom and the fingerprint sensor on the back. Overall, the build quality here is good, but the phone is large, as is expected for phones with such massive batteries. The Oukitel K6000 Plus uses a 5.5-inch 1080p display by AUO, and the display here does not disappoint. The display is quite strong, showing off crisp text and pictures, and colors are quite vivid. Blacks are pretty dark and whites are slightly on the blue side, but that being said, I don't have any complaints about how this display looks. It has a maximum brightness of 500 nits, which is respectable, viewable even in direct sunlight. The screen is also covered in Asahi Dragon Trail glass, so it is protected against scratches to a certain degree. There is a single speaker on the back that provides decently loud sound. It's still possible to get overpowered, but the phone does pump out respectable sound. The audio quality is slightly above average. There is some decent clarity from the speakers and some bass as well. That being said, the speaker here is not something to boast about, but it is by no means a deal breaker either.
Under my tutelage, you will grow from boys into men, from men into gladiators, and from gladiators into Swansons. Behold, the Swanson Pyramid of Greatness. I've been developing the Swanson Pyramid of Greatness for years. It's a perfectly calibrated recipe for maximum personal achievement. Categories include crying, acceptable at funerals and the Grand Canyon, rage, poise, property rights, fish, for sport only, not for meat. Fish meat is practically a vegetable. Haircuts, there are 3 acceptable haircuts.
And here I have another 6000 mAh battery in my hand, and I'm so happy. The K6000 Plus has a slightly larger battery than the Ulefone Power 2, but that should not have any measurable effect on battery life here. So I put the phone through its paces, a 16-hour day with 5 hours of screen on time, and I was left with about 62%. The next test was a 2-day test, 2 16-hour days and about 10 hours of screen on time, and I had about 17% of battery left at the end of the second day. Can you kill this phone in 1 day? Yes, technically it's possible, but realistically though, probably definitely not. You will need to do some ridiculous things to kill this phone in just 1 day if you so desire. The phone comes with the latest Android 7.0 Nougat, and there is one slight downside: the icons are not stock. You have custom Oukitel icons for each of those sections of the phone, but you can have a custom launcher that replaces the icons, or you can just have a theme and replace everything. That being said, moving between home screen, swiping, and accessing the notification shade was also smooth, as fast as the Ulefone Power 2, but of course not as fast as more expensive flagships. Moving on to the fingerprint sensor, it is fast and accurate, and there's not much else to say here. The processor handles opening and closing apps quite well. There wasn't a lot of lag or hesitation when opening and closing apps, but it's definitely some if you compare it with higher end phones. Multitasking was also handled very well as well. I could run any game on this phone with no lag at all, which is pretty impressive. You won't have any issues gaming, and you can do it for a long time as well. Double check the network bands on the phone to make sure it works on your carrier before you buy it. I was only able to get LTE here in Canada. That being said, LTE speeds are not bad, not the fastest, but not slow either. Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and GPS work quite well as well. GPS works and doesn't jump around at all. So the thing is, I was able to take good photos in good lighting conditions, pretty good pictures in fact. Detail is good, colors are saturated, and contrast is good. Dynamic range isn't the greatest, but HDR does solve some of that. But the downside here is that the K6000 Plus's camera quality actually dips pretty sharply once you enter into less than ideal lighting conditions. It obviously does not handle low light situations well either. The front-facing camera takes some decent photos and performs about the same as the rear-facing camera in terms of color reproduction and low light conditions. You can film in 1080p, and the detail in the video just isn't that great, but color and saturation are okay. The Oukitel K6000 Plus is not backing down from the Ulefone Power 2 at all. In fact, it has almost all the same pros and cons as the Ulefone Power 2, tit for tat. With that in mind, the K6000 Plus is also a good option for a MediaTek battery phone, and the camera here is the weakest part of this phone so far. That being said, the K6000 Plus and the Ulefone Power 2 both face competition from the Redmi Note 4X, and that is still the biggest challenge MediaTek battery phones face today. Thank you so much for watching, be sure to hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.